I got a $500 eBay turbo kit. Boy oh boy, does that make me happy. Let's show what all comes in the eBay turbo kit, and then we'll talk about the cool stuff and blah 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 to make it happen. And looking at this downpipe, by the time I get this all installed, my whole exhaust will be stainless front to back. Very cool. And looking back, that's about what the plumbing should look like for the intercooler and everything. And then all the rest of the stuff is sitting off to the side here. Good Lord willing, this is going to happen on Saturday. Just a couple days away. I can't wait.
The all-new Davenport used car superstore coming September 8th at the corner of 46th and Brady Street in beautiful Davenport. Car buying will never be the same. The all-new Davenport used car superstore. Analyze, drop off.
This is supposed to be the oil drain coming off of my turbo, the return line back to the pan. That sumbitch takes up way too much room. I don't like it. So what if I unscrewed this piece off of here? Sorry, I'm holding the camera like a dumbass. But what if I unscrewed that? And what if I took this thing apart? And what if I burn him straight onto here? And just eliminate a couple 3 inches of vertical, because then there would, there'd be the fitting in between, right? No, shit. Let's eliminate a whole bunch of that and just weld it straight on. Just like how the same thing at the oil pan, they wanted me to pull some stupid shit like that. What if we just welded it straight on to the oil pan? So that way it's on there. No bullshit. So this put your turbo on in an afternoon like how these other guys are doing? No. Nah. Yeah, I gotta wait on parts. All the other guys on the internet, their first thing they're doing is we're taking this off and we're taking this off. Oh yeah, no, we can't have no air conditioning with our turbo, especially not with that cast iron head. Okay, thanks. This is the upgraded oil drain. It hasn't been welded together just yet, but that's the way to do it. Way shorter. The other flange was made out of cheap shit pot metal and it exploded when it got tagged on. So this is the way to go, steel. So these are springs that, well, maybe not this one, but these are wastegate springs. And this is the one that was in their stock out of the box wastegate spring, and this one is pretty darn hard to compress. So I wanted one that would be a little more gentle. This one is also not quite that hard, but pretty hard to compress. I've come to decide that this one is the easiest to compress. That's the one that I want. That's going to limit me the most as far as how much boost it's going to allow before there's a great enough pressure to open the wastegate. So I'm going to go ahead and set him into the wastegate, and then I'll put the cover on it and bolt it down with that spring in place. And so that would in effect limit my boost capabilities to the smallest amount of boost, whatever that is, like a 6 or an 8 pound spring. And then after that I'm going to use the boost controller here to get the boost that I want, and we'll take it from there. I figure this way, with the smallest spring that I've got, the lightest spring that I've got on the boost controller, then that way, rather with the smallest and lightest spring in the wastegate, that way if this thing messes up, then I'm limited to, you know, only 6 to 8 pounds before the wastegate is going to open up. And hopefully this thing won't mess up, this little boosty controller. And yeah, the plumbing for that is pretty wild. Everybody seems to have a different idea of how it goes and what needs to be done with it, so I'm not even going to talk about that. I'm just going to say that it's pretty wild. The rest of it is pretty straightforward, and I'm still waiting on a couple of fittings. Got my 3 to 2.5 there, and I'm gonna boom it up, and I want my air filter to sit in this opening here, and then I'm gonna plumb back to it. So that's how that's gonna go. Yep. And yes, I'm still rolling with air conditioning. I've still got the cast iron manifold, got the turbo, got the oil line coming up off of my turbo here. Got that taken care of. Yeah, there's still an AC compressor down in there. There it is. You see it? Yep. I got AC. I gotta be different. So this is the saga of my turbo build that took forever, and it's still taking forever. So far what's done, the charge piping is done, the control plumbing for the blow off and for the wastegate, I've got the downpipe built. I'm just gonna go to atmosphere. I don't even know where the hell it is because I've been cleaning everything up. Here it is. There's my downpipe. And that's going to bolt onto, of course, the wastegate and dump down just to atmosphere. It goes down through the labyrinth there, and if you see that like clear spot down where that trouble light is, that's about where my offsets take me, just in between my AC compressor and the fan shroud in there. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. A minute ago I was underneath showing the airlines rather oil lines and that, because I've got to feed my, well, that one's turbo, that one's oil pressure, and that one's oil temp. So the oil temp and the oil pressure were out of that square T, and then the turbo comes out of the tap. Actually, it comes out of the same tap that feeds the cruise control, because I still got cruise control. It's underneath my zip ties here. I still got cruise control, but yeah, that tap for that goes before any of the cruise control, any of the check valve, any of that. Okay, so right now I'm on my back. I am underneath the Minion, and that's the oil filter. This here is the drive shaft. That's just a little balancing doohickey. But what I'm looking at and what I want to show right now is that square brass T. That square brass T, and from the bottom of the screen by the oil filter, that line comes out of the block and it gives oil pressure going straight up and through. That's the factory oil pressure. Off to the left is going to be, let me clear the drive shaft here, off to the left is the braided line that feeds the oil to my turbo. Then to the right of that square T, I've got another T, and that big bulbousy looking ugly fitting pointing down towards us is the oil pressure sensor. And then there we go, that other guy to the right of the oil pressure sensor, that little brass guy, is oil temperature. So those two will go up to my gauge pods. Please ignore that ugly grease that's sprayed and squirted up onto my ugly stuff up there. What that is that was the old CV axle here that had exploded and it sprayed grease everywhere, but that's old news. And so even though none of this really is true to what's going on under the hood here, it's even going to be farther from the truth by the time this is done. I'm not done yet, but this is where I'm at right now, and I figured I'd share. I'll update when enough gets done to be worthy of an update.